Our breaking news tonight reports President Trump shared highly classified information with Russian officials in the Oval Office last week. Two former officials knowledgeable about the situation confirmed those reports to CNN. I want to bring in now Michael Weiss, a CNN investigative reporter for international affairs, and national security analyst Julia Kayyem, former Department of Homeland Security official. Good evening to both of you. How damaging is this, Michael?
Well, if this is true, it's colossally damaging. I mean, we still don't know who the partner was that shared this intelligence with the United States, right? I spoke to an ex-CIA officer this evening, and I said, what do you make of this? And he said, whoever gave us this intelligence is not going to give us any more intelligence, if this is true. Again, the denial that McMaster has given and that the Trump administration and its surrogates are hanging on is that, well, the president did not disclose sources or methods. That's not the gravamen of the Washington Post exclusive.
Well,
it's the information, right?
Hang on, hold on. Explain that, because they're saying he didn't reveal sources and methods.
Right.
He didn't do this. That's not what the report says.
Correct.
Explain to the viewer what the report says.
Well, when it comes to intelligence, I mean, you can give a certain scenario. You can say, well, we have credible intelligence coming out of such and such city in Syria that ISIS is looking to hit a Western city or a commercial airliner or something like that. And the Russians, because they have their own intelligence gathering methods, which includes partnering with the Iranians and the Syrians, can try and piece together how the Americans know this, right? Sources and methods are distinct from raw information or just credible information. Just to give you an analogy, when the DNI came out with its report saying 17 U.S. intelligence agencies have concluded with high confidence that the Russians hacked the DNC, what they did not disclose was sources and methods, right? We don't know how U.S. intelligence knows this, because if they were to give that away, they would essentially allow the Russians into their intelligence gathering mechanism. The Russians would know how we do cyber warfare, what our human intelligence capability in Moscow was, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever Donald Trump said, and by the way, for U.S. intelligence officials or U.S. officials to leak this to the press, and this is what the other thing that my ex-CIA source said, indicates a level of complete aggravation and almost, they're driven to distraction about how frustrating this is. This is a case in which the commander-in-chief might have possibly blown an active intelligence operation. If not, then hung out his own intelligence community to dry in the event that the Russians are able to now blow this intelligence.
Go ahead, Julia. And in your response, so is the White House, this administration, in their response tonight, being too cute by half because they know that they're denying something that's not even in the report?
Yeah, they may be, and they may also be trying to protect the intelligence relationships they have with this country that Trump may have sort of blown the relationship with. So they want to minimize the impact, and I get that from them. But just picking up on what Michael said, the notion that intelligence agents would notify the Washington Post that not only this happened, but remember the second piece and the amazing piece of the story is that then there's a scrambling after that meeting to notify the intelligence agencies that this had happened, so that they can begin to notify our NATO allies or whoever it was, other allies, and to protect what assets we have and what intelligence gathering resources we have going on. Because the most important thing here is we all know over the last week there has been these growing rumors, you have done stories on it, about this I don't want to say it was specific, but it was just highly credible concern about the laptops, and that was the United States going to extend the laptop ban. So we know that there are serious investigations, serious intelligence gathering going on, and then out of the blue, something shared with the Russians, and I can't explain that. It's at best, it's a casualness about his own job and about his responsibilities as president that is just, it's hard to just be able to explain it anymore. If I just give him the president the best of intentions, it's just, this is a serious job that he wanted.
Code word information, Juliet, that's what the Washington Post says on the Islamic State. What is this, and how secretive is it?
It's one of the highest, if not the highest, sort of intelligence designations for information that would be kept exclusive even within your own intelligence agency. So in other words, you may have such a discrete group of people working on one small, operation, one small cell, that they are actually not going to share that information with maybe a larger ISIS group, or with the defense intelligence agencies, or with the Defense Department or Homeland Security. That information then would go to, of course, the National Security Advisor, especially if it was an imminent investigation. And then for some reason, that information, probably part of the daily brief, gets to Trump. And that may include, look, we know that country X has an asset in ISIS. And that asset is highly vulnerable, but is willing to share information with us. And something as casual as that said to the Russians then will unleash a series of responses by other countries who do not have our best interest in mind.
So Juliet, Michael said at least at the very least our intelligence officials and the White House tried to minimize the damage to what the president did in the Oval Office. So is leaking this to the Washington Post, does that further damage U.S. security?
No. I mean, again, as I say,
go ahead, Michael.
The intelligence community, I think, is trying to protect itself, because if this whole thing is exploded, or if the operation goes awry, they want to make it known that this isn't because of their own incompetence. This is because the President of the United States gave up the goods to the Russians. One of the other things in the Washington Post article that I found rather compelling is that this is information that's so sensitive we did not share it with our allies. Now, there are some allies the U.S. has which it does not trust completely. Why? Because those allies' intelligence services have been penetrated by countries such as Russia, namely France, Germany. These are not part of the so-called Five Eyes, where we have a sort of we don't spy on you, you don't spy on us arrangement.
So could our allies stop sharing intelligence with us because of this?
Yes, and also the reason we didn't share this intelligence with those allies was for the precise reason that we didn't want the Russians to get a hold of it. But now that's all gone because the president just shared it in the Oval Office with the foreign minister. And remember, Kislyak, identified by CNN as a top intelligence gatherer or spy master in Washington, D.C. This is no light matter. I mean, you're giving the keys to the kingdom to Moscow Center here.
And also, I mean, one thing just on the intelligence side, we are a country that actually is good at intelligence gathering. We share with other countries that aren't as sophisticated. So they're only as strong as we are. So the weaker we become in terms of our capacity to get intelligence from Europe or any of our allies, those other countries become weaker. That includes a country like Canada, which is highly dependent on us for intelligence. So it's not just us that's going to be impacted. Other countries that are sort of our intelligence consumers will also be impacted by this. There's just a casualness about the sharing of this information, which is just jaw-dropping. These are the Russians. I just don't know how more we can say it. I had that big sigh because I'm like, this is unreal. I mean, it really is truly unbelievable. But I just want to know, is Kislyak, did he play the president? Did he play by buttering him up and getting into the Oval Office? I don't think he had to, honestly. Look, President Trump's Twitter feed is a gold mine for any kind of hostile foreign intelligence service. This is a president who, you don't have to get exclusive access to the White House to understand what's going on inside his head. I mean, everything, what's on his lung is on his tongue kind of thing. I mean, he's telling you in real time what he's thinking. Any kind of personality disorder that he wants to exhibit, he's exhibiting. He is sort of cream cheese for a foreign spy service. So for Lavrov and Kislyak to come there, and remember, this came a day after the president fired James Comey, the director of the FBI, overseeing a counterintelligence investigation into possible criminal conspiracy by Donald Trump's campaign that might have included collusion with the Russian government. And then who does he invite? Foreign Minister Lavrov, one of the most seasoned, po-faced, Soviet-style Russian diplomats. Kislyak, again, somebody that Jeff Sessions was meeting with and lied about to Congress. Caused Flynn to get fired. Caused Flynn to get fired. And, the first thing that happens is Lavrov jokes with the press corps, oh, was James Comey fired? I had no idea. Get out of here. I mean, like, they're taking the piss, as the Brits say. They're trolling the United States. And the president is allowing them to. Quickly, Juliet, I got to run. And just very quickly, and as Michael certainly knows, being in counterterrorism, so the consequence of this is ISIS knows it's been exposed, and so two things will happen. It will either delay what it's planning on doing, which would be good, or it will speed up. And that's the truly sort of scary aspect of it. I don't mean to sound alarms. It's just we know how terrorist organizations respond to being potentially infiltrated. They'll either recede, which would be good, or they will speed it up, as we've seen before. And so we'll just have to monitor it.
Is he competent to be in the Oval Office? That's a good question that everyone should be asking themselves tonight. Thank you both.
That's your next panel.
Yeah. When we come back, how members of the president's own party are responding to tonight's breaking news. One top Republican describing the White House as in a downward spiral.